I'm Kelcey. I'm 84 years old. I retired at the age of 65. I joined the police force when I was 22 years old in 1955. I was sent away to Sandgate near Folkestone in Kent for 3 years probation, 3 months training. Came back to Lancing, which was my first posting, and did 2 years probation at Lancing. Then I was moved over to Worthing, and in that 2-year period I was married and we moved into a house at Goring. From there I stayed there from 1958 to 1963 approximately, and then I was sent out into the country at Patching, Angmering and Clapham to be a country bobby, where I was given a Velocet water-cooled motorcycle which was on my beat. My role in the police force initially was on the beat at Lancing, went to Worthing, drove motor cars on the beat and did general duties from Worthing, and then when I was moved to Patching, I was the village bobby in a wonderful big detached house with my own office and a telephone and a typewriter. Did all my own work there. My shifts were a 16 rota shift, split shifts basically. Some of the shifts were 5 till 9 in the morning, and the same in the evening, 5 till 9. I did 9 to 1, 9 to 1s, 8 to 2, 5 to 1, and I was all over the place in terms of shifts. And there were 16 of them which you had to roll over. And you worked with other colleagues on other detachments, and when you was off duty, they covered you from their beat with their motorised vehicles. Previous to me joining the diving unit, I'd been a fairly competent life-saving and swimming person within the units, and I was also a swimming instructor. So on that basis, an announcement came out through orders that there was going to be a brand new unit set up within West Sussex to be a diving underwater search and rescue unit. I applied together with many others, and I did my water training, and I got through all that, and then I did 3 months training from May 1966, and when we were fully qualified, we were then 6 members of a very specialist elite unit throughout the county of West Sussex. The way we operated at that time, without any modern technology, which there is now,
Yeah.
this could be interesting. Without modern technology, we had an air bottle on our back, obviously. We had 2 tubes coming over with a mouthpiece, which is like a boxer's shield, a boxer's gun. We had a half mask which covered the nose and the eyes. We had attached to our webbing, which held the bottle on there, we had a rope, an ordinary strengthened rope, which was attached and tied to the right hand shoulder of the diver. And that rope then went to your buddy who was on the quayside or on the bank, who was looking after you, because you was never out of contact with the side. I can remember quite clearly the first body job that we did. We were set up in May. We worked throughout the summer on a part-time basis, searching rivers and ponds and lakes on the basis that information was coming to the various police officers at different stations regarding property that we might be able to recover. But in the late September, we got a call late at night for our first body job, which was in Shoreham Harbour late at night. And the circumstances are a young couple with a small child of 2 or 3 years old in a Riley Elf, which is a Mini with a boot, drove along to the Brighton seafront where there was the illuminations on. As it was September and it was a dark evening, they drove along the promenade from the Palace Pier right through to the western lawns of Brighton and Hove. From there, the driver decided to go down onto the lower Shoreham Harbour Road, which is a private stroke public road, to have a look at the boats that were anchored alongside in the harbour. And having driven west as far as he could go, with the harbour on his right hand side, he turned round at the far end to come back along close to where the boats were moored. And coming along that stretch of road, the little boy in the back of the car wanted to climb over into the front passenger seat to sit on his mum's lap. And the husband didn't want him to and kept pushing him back. And at one stage, further along Shoreham Harbour quayside, the husband did a slight manoeuvre in his chair, in the car, with his hand on the wheel, and his body sort of turned to push the little boy back to the back seat, and his hand moved the wheel gently to the left, and within seconds it had nosedived into Shoreham Harbour. 20 to 25 feet of very black, dark, muddy water. Nearby was a night watchman in one of the factories. He heard the splash or the noise, saw the result of what had happened, because there was bubbles coming up to the surface of the water, and he made a treble 9 call and raised the alarm. We, being a part-time unit with police officers stationed in various parts of West Sussex, they had got to be informed, located and driven to Worthing at the time, where we had the use of a Land Rover, which we filled with all our equipment, drove to the quayside at Shoreham Harbour, which would be then 11:30 at night time. I was instructed to be the first diver in, so I have with me a partner who's called a buddy. He looks after me when I'm in the water searching. So we got dressed, and the other pair got dressed, because he's the standby diver in case I need assistance. I went in the water with a torch initially. A torch is very little use when it's completely black. Located the car, located the number of the car, found out that the owner was whoever, but in that meantime, the driver had got out of the car. His wife had got out of the car, but she was seen to be on the surface and in distress. He pulled her to the side. Services arrived. They were both recovered, taken to hospital. Unfortunately, the wife passed away en route or at the hospital. The driver survived. A little boy is missing. We are told, search the car, make sure the doors are all closed. We searched the car with the doors in a position where we could close them. The services, the superintendent or whoever's in charge, got a crane driver out from the factory, got the crane over the car in the water. My colleague and I went down and secured the car with shackles and ropes, etc. The car was lifted out of the water slowly, moved to the side onto the quayside and delivered. That was our job done. The little boy was in the back of the car, dead. We're talking, best of my memory, 1968-69. Basically, I think it was sort of spring, summerish, and there was some serious flooding on the River Arun, further north than Arundel and out into the country. And we were called out late one evening, tea time, to a village called Newbridge, which is between Pulborough and Storrington, etc., where there was some motor cars waiting on one side of this very swollen, raging torrent of a river. Really very serious and quite dangerous. And they wanted, people in the cars couldn't get over this little bridge over the stream, which was the River Arun. And so a garage on that far side of the river was called out, and the emergency driver, the driver, hooked up to these motor cars before the bridge and tried to pull them through this torrent. And in doing so, the tow line broke, and two or three of the cars were swept off the road by the flooding and into a ditch. We were on standby at Haywards Heath police station because it was very bad all over the Sussex, all over the county. We were called and we went to this scene, and we realised that the fire service were there with their arc lights, and they'd set it all up. We could see exactly what was going on, and we could hear people screaming and shouting that they was in trouble. There was the people in the motor cars that was in water, wherever. We got all dressed. We got a very large vehicle on our side of the river to back in, because the exhaust pipe would be downstream of where the water was rushing across. And we went in very slowly. We weren't in any particular diving equipment. We were just in our suits. We was all roped together, and the rope was then attached to the motor vehicle. The first diver went in. The second diver followed into this torrent, and as slowly we were sort of like in a line following the first diver. And when he got to the car, he managed to save someone out of the car and pull him across to us, and we handed this person over to the vehicle. And that's basically what happened at Newbridge on that night of the floods, with people being requested or saved. We went to the next car, having got people from that one, went to the next car, and we got almost to the lady. There was a lady there that was screaming and shouting and panicking, etc., obviously holding on to a support of the car, when the first person of our diving lads said, "Don't let go, don't let go," and the noise was terrific. And as he went to sort of take hold of her, she tried to grab him, and in that split second we'd lost her. She'd gone. The water had taken her. She was found downstream sometime later dead. We'd lost her, and we was right there within almost touching distance. So that sort of depressed us quite badly, yeah. Everybody made statements. The whole thing had to go through to the coroner because there was people drowned. And as a result of the whole of that, when the inquest was finished, I think the chief constable put together a document which he sent off to, I presume, Buckingham Palace royalty through the proper channels, recommending that a number of his officers did some very, very good work on the night of this serious flooding. And as a result of that, a number of months later, we all got a letter from Buckingham Palace saying that we'd been awarded a Queen's Commendation for Brave Conduct, and the person in charge of our unit, the sergeant, I think it was sergeant, he got a George Medal. So we all had to go eventually to Arundel Castle with our families, and we presented with the Queen's Commendation for Brave Conduct, which he pinned to your uniform, and we all had a drink and a chat with the Duke of Norfolk. It's spring/summertime. We're called out to recover a safe which had been stolen in a break-in somewhere in Brighton, and it was alleged by a person who was arrested for this that they'd thrown it into a pond, and I'm not sure if it was Falmer or Ditchling. It's one of those two. So we were called to this pond. We went out at sort of breakfast time. One person went in his gear and tested the depth, and the depth was sort of waist deep. And he moved away from the side, and it was waist deep for quite considerable way away from the side of the pond. So we all put a suit on. I was given the job of being on the outside of the group with an air bottle, just carrying a £2,000 per square inch air bottle, because the locals had told us that there was a swan with cygnets somewhere in the pond, in another area, and it was a very dangerous thing to be in the pond with this swan active. And eventually this swan saw us and came across the pond, working his wings, flapping away towards us. And I got this bottle, and if you open an air bottle very quickly, it makes a crack or a noise, a very live noise. And I got to protect my lads who were searching for a safe, which wouldn't be much more than 4 or 5 feet away from the edge. And I was protecting my lads from a swan with an air bottle. We went all the way round, never found a safe. Called them up and said, no, there's no safe within 5 to 6 feet of the water's edge. Go back and interview this gentleman, this villain, again, which they did, and they brought him up to the side where we were. And they said, no, where is it? Here's the lads, they're in a suit, they can't find it. He said, it's not in there, mate. It's further up in the woods beyond where we're searching. Which proves that a negative search at times can be a positive search, because the person then agreed and they took him up to the woods, recovered a damaged safe, which all adds to the witness's statement being credible, and it's obviously required as evidence for a case. So it was just another interesting sort of morning's job on a call out to keep this swan at bay.